Heavenly Father, we praise and glorify you today as we find safety in your presence. Thank you for bringing us all together for this event. Bless everyone gathered here in your name. We pray for wisdom to share fresh ideas that will help our community and country recover and thrive so that we can be a blessing to many others. May this gathering be truly meaningful for all of us. Continue to guide us in the days ahead, leading us in everything we do so we can all benefit from our combined wisdom and experiences. We ask you this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Your commitment to a dynamic and transparent capital market resonates deeply with the vision of Shareholders Association of the Philippines. As the leading voice for minority shareholders, Sharefield tirelessly works to empower investors through education and champion strong corporate governance. A key part of Sharefield's mission and why this event is so vital is our shared dedication to elevating the investor relation profession by providing essential platforms for knowledge exchange and their best practices, ultimately strengthening the dialogue between companies and their shareholders. We would like to extend our sincere thanks to the following generous sponsors. Platinum sponsor, Maynilad Water. Gold sponsors, Topline Business Development Corporation and Megawide Group with Citicorp Renewable Energy and Citicorp Energy REIT. Silver sponsors, Concrete Holdings, DMCI Holdings Inc., Philinvest Development Corporation. Bronze sponsors, China Bank, Philinvest Land Incorporated, and Security Bank. Thank you for your vital partnership in driving meaningful change and empowering shareholders and investors in the Philippines. Let us start by having our chair, Ms. Maria Aurora Boots, Jotina Garcia, to give the opening remarks.
On behalf of the Shareholders Association of the Philippines, Sharefield, I'm delighted to formally open today's Investor Relations Forum, centered on the theme Leadership, Transparency, and Market Confidence. To our investor relations professionals in the audience and to all fellow Sharefield members and guests, thank you for your presence today in this dynamic and evolving landscape of the Philippine capital market. The principles of leadership in corporate strategy, unwavering transparency in communications, and cultivating a robust market confidence are not just ideals. They are the very bedrock upon which successful IR strategies are built and sustained. Thus, your vital role in bridging companies with the investment community makes the discussion paramount. This forum is designed as a platform for exchange and learnings, specifically for those on the front lines of investor engagement. We are exceptionally privileged to guest two distinguished members, or leaders rather, whose experience and insights will be invaluable to our discussions. Mr. Edgar Saavedra, is he now in the room? May you please come forward. Chairman, President, and CEO of Megawide Holdings and Citicorp Energy, a true force in shaping our nation's infrastructure and energy future, offering a critical perspective from the point of view of an issuer. And Ms. Robrina Go, Country Head of UBS Securities, a prominent voice from the global financial services arena, bringing a wealth of international perspective on which investors truly seek. So their contributions, along with the panel discussion which will follow, promise to enrich our understanding and equip us with actionable strategies to further strengthen the integrity and vibrancy of the Philippine capital market. Let our forum ignite solutions that resonate beyond today. And just before I say and close my remarks, I'd also like to share, of course, which everybody already knows, that Sharefield is proud with the recent appointment of our former president and still a current trustee, Francis Edra Lim, as he has assumed his office as of June 6, I believe, as the chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. So may we give a big round of applause for that appointment. I think the entire business community is quite confident that Francis will bring a new era, I'd like to say, into the development of our capital market. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for being here today, and we appreciate your support to our initiatives to advance the investor relations profession. Maraming salamat.
So again, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's still okay in their seats. For today's Investor Relation in Focus, Leadership, Transparency, and Market Confidence, it is my honor to introduce our first panelist, Mr. Edgar Saavedra, the visionary chairman and president of Mega White Construction Corporation. A civil engineer by training and a true visionary entrepreneur, Mr. Saavedra co-founded Mega White in 1997 and has since catapulted the company to the forefront of Philippine infrastructure sector. Under his stewardship, Mega White became the first local firm to adopt precast concrete technology, dramatically improving efficiency, quality, and cost management across large-scale projects. Beyond the groundbreaking building techniques, his leadership has driven M-Wide's expansion into strategic infrastructure ventures, from modernizing the Mactan Cebu and Clark International Airports to pioneering the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange. More recently, Mr. Saavedra has steered the company's entry into renewable energy through Citicore Renewable Energy, underscoring his commitment to sustainable growth. Mr. Saavedra embodies the qualities central to investor relations: bold leadership, unwavering transparency, and acute understanding of market dynamics. His ability to foster stakeholders' trust and secure capital for ambitious, long-term initiatives makes him an invaluable voice on today's panel. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Mr. Edgar Saavedra.
Good afternoon. I was given a speech by my staff, pero tingin ko hindi ko na lang basahin. So, thank you for inviting me here to all the board of directors of Sharefield. So, ang sabi lang naman sa akin, maybe I can share yung history ko dito. So, yung comment ko lang yung visionary. I think yung visionary, 50% lang true. Because when I started, even until we get listed, I think more than the vision, it's really the spirit of being entrepreneur. You just want to do something more than the vision. Yun yung, totoo lang, the reality. Until, maybe yung, when I became older, medyo nag-iba konti. Yun, nagkaroon ng vision. But during my younger age, until we got listed, it's really the character, more than the vision, ang nagde-drive sa akin. So, so Mega White, no, we started 1997. So I used to have a partner. I think all of you knows that. So as usual, no, I'm a civil engineer. So obviously I started construction, and then a lot of people are saying, why do you start why do you start business without having any experience? So dati hindi ko alam to when I was young, no, but when I became older, I said there are two kinds of strategy, or many kinds of strategy. One is you do a rifle approach. When you do rifle, it's either you do the sniper approach, you spend overnight, 30 minutes, 1 hour to try to spot and strategize before you hit the target. Sabi ko, the other strategy is like a cowboy. You pull the gun, you aim it, you are not 100% correct, maybe 80% correct. You shoot it, of course you're not gonna hit the target, and in the split of 2 seconds or two, you hit it again, in 5 seconds, you're done. You're able to hit the target. So, I think at that time, hindi ko naman alam na that's a strategy. It's more of the spirit, no, that you really want to do it. But even up to now, I realize that strategy works. Meaning I always do 80% plan and then you execute right away. I think it's the speed of Megawide that brings us to where we are now. I'm not gonna say that we always do right. We have a lot of imperfections, a lot of mistakes, but we just learn from our mistakes. So, when we got listed in in year 2011, I remember as civil engineer, 35, 36 years old, our experience is purely construction. Basically, my mindset, my know-how is just project management. No accounting background. Our accounting that before was like typical, you know, when you go to the public market, you know, when you talk to the palengkera or the, yeah, si Mai is here is laughing. That's how we run our, as construction kasi, that's how the engineers, the discipline of engineers say, you just do a simple cash flow. And governance, kalimutan na natin yan. Tinuro sa akin ng ilang beses. It took me several years bago ko naintindihan yung sinasabi sa governance. So, IR, we didn't have an IR before because our first IR, si Joanne joined only maybe 2016. Si Ed Francisco can attest to that, yung approach namin. But I realized there are people also, even though with yung imperfection, no, or lack of confidence, but the spirit, because I still ask, why did the group of the C families, including Ed Francisco, believe in us? Parang kung wala ka namang alam. I mean, but why are there people who believe on us at that time? So I guess, meron din mga tao na very experienced, they can see the value more than the competence. I think in the end, it's really the character is more important rather than yung purely competency. Yun yung mga realization ko, no? Kasi si Ed naman, I'm sure na-witness mo, Ed, wala pa kami alam noon at that time. Hindi, ikaw naman, construction lang. So, now, as I became older, and probably a little bit wiser, and then we gain experience, and then may mga IR na ako, si Rolly now is also running our IR Megawide, si Joanne moved to Citycore. So, I'm assuming kasi all of you knows that we have three listed companies, no? Citycore, Megawide, and the Citycore REIT. So, the IR for us, si Joanne kasi was the one who kept on tagging us along to meet with the investors every year, 2 times, 3 times a year. So, until it becomes a discipline. Alam mo yung parang may isang ate ka na kinukulit ka na kailangan mo magdasal, magsimba. So, I think, yung nature ko kasi is I'm not a very structured, very serious person. No? So, until I see the value, diba? Of course, I see the value, but the more you do it, the more you see the value. Kasi, the more you see the value is because you get many businesses out from that discussion. And then most of the time, I always joke around with the investors. But that's where I think I want to be true to myself. I think that's where also some of the investors like it because they see that true self, right? Right? More than like memorizing. That's why I don't like memorizing also my speech. So that's my story, no? And then, even in governance, I try to practice yung, let's say, the related party transaction before I find it too academic. But I realize as the company is growing, you have different businesses, para din palang bata. Sabi ko, you cannot parang, in the end, you cannot have one subsidiary where you are parang yung spoiling like a child, no? That one day, this child will become entitled and then it will become your drugger kung sa financial ano. Pero, so, I realized, okay, related party transaction, everyone has to survive. If you cannot survive, then we close that business unit. So, the nature of related party transaction kicks in like, oh, eto pala yun. You just have to do it the common sense way. Kasi if I read all the RPT policies, baka hindi ko naman memorize lahat yun. So, my point now is, everything in the governance, yung tinuturo, even sa accounting, all of those are really right. But I just realized that not all people, it's difficult for one to understand everything in 1 year, 2 years. I think, unless I'm below average, but if I put myself on the average level, it's not easy to understand the policy of all the governance, and then the compliance, accounting, financial, capital, understanding the capital, a different industry. And then you also need to run your business, whether it's a construction, it's an energy business. So, I guess it's just being true to yourself is important, and getting right people in your team to help you, just like what I shared to you earlier, si Joe and si Rolly, they keep on reminding me. In the end, it's like a one family. You need teamwork. You need team members who will help you run the business. That's what I can share for Megawide. Now, yung financial statement namin, si Mai has been calling my attention before, no? Si Mai kasi used sorry, nagkakaroon ako ng memory gap. Punong Bayan, PNA. So, PNA has been our auditor for more than 10 years. It's only last 2 years, nagpalit. But, si Mai knows all the problems that we have. But, sabi ko nga kay Mai, last year lang, no? After maybe 4 years, 25 years, sabi ko, Mai, do you know, finally, yung sinasabi niyong accounting standards, all our projects, we have accounting policy. At naintindihan ng project managers ko. Kasi naintindihan ko, last 2 years lang, 3 years. And then ako nag-lead. Number 2, sabi ko, Mai, do you know, yung ERP namin, it's real time. Meaning, pag binasa mo you audit every hour o every day, pumunta ka sa project sites. When you run our financial statement, it's real time. And then, ima-match mo na lang sa statutory mo, it will take you less than an hour to just do some minor adjustment. O 1 day, it's done. So, pero na-realize ko rin, we've been doing this for the last 10 years, pero bago namin na perfect, 10 years to 15 years, nagrereklamo ako, pero sabi ng mga ibang accounting consultant, Edgar, huwag ka na magreklamo. I think a lot of big companies here are not yet real time, ha? Sabi ko, ha? Ganun ba yun? Sabi ko, yes. Sabi nila sa akin, yes, marami pa rin ganun. Sabi ko, oh, ganun pala yun. So, bottom line, my story is, I just keep on doing. I have a strategy. My strategy normally is simple. And then, if I make mistake, I just correct it. I stand up and just keep on doing. And you have to I have a good team who's helping me from finance, sila Jess, sila Rolly, and sila Joanne, especially in the IR side. I just realized the value, lalo na kung lumalaki ka, you need investor like your allies who can help you, especially when you're growing, diba? So, sabi ni Rolly, boss, baka you can share naman what is our success? What are the key success factor? Why investors or bankers are supporting us? I guess it goes back to values again. So kumbaga action speaks louder, diba? Kaysa bola ko naman bola, but kung alam nyo naman yung yung ginagawa ko for the last 5 years, you would know eh. So I think for myself and Mega White and my team, I always believe that it's not all about money. So money will always come if you do the right thing. So what is the right thing? I'm sure malaki yan. I cannot highlight ano yung isa-isa yan. So the more I become older, I realize you put the value first and then the rest will follow. Values, meaning the culture and the strategy. Right now, that's what I'm focusing. Having the right strategy, having the right values, and you have people around you, your team members, who will help you execute the business. Yun lang, that's what I can share.
I'd like to call the two panelists first, and we'll have a quick photo off with the rest of the board of Sharefield. Thanks. Now, I'm delighted to introduce our next panelist, the country head and concurrently the head of global markets for UBS Philippines, Ms. Robbie Go. Ms. Go has been an integral part of UBS since 2000, leading a team that has consistently achieved top rankings in equities research, sales, and trading and execution. Her leadership has been instrumental in UBS receiving multiple accolades, including the Best Brokerage House and the Best Equity House awards from The Asset over the years. More recently, in 2021, UBS was recognized as the best investment bank by Euromoney and received Asia Money's Best International Bank Award, underscoring the remarkable breadth and depth of their capital market transaction here in the Philippines. Throughout her impressive career, Ms. Go has been deeply involved in a wide range of equity capital market transactions, playing crucial roles in their successful execution. She maintains regular contact with the investor base, skillfully navigating the evolving landscape of both the buy side and sell side of the industry. As country head, Ms. Go plays a vital role in coordinating UBS's cross-divisional collaboration, promoting the bank's opportunities, and leveraging its robust platform to serving a growing client base. She also represents UBS in its dealings with regulators and governmental affairs. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Ms. Robbie Go.
When I got the invitation from Dang, and I said I couldn't really say no because I owe a lot of the success stories of the market to you. But part of that is because I also believe that we have a role to give to the next generation. It's to build a very solid foundation and structure so that the capital market can thrive to the next generation. When I think about, because I don't know how to be an IR, you guys know more than me. There is the textbook approach and definition, and I said, I cannot be better than that. There are consultants who can tell you what is the best way to do IR, and you can talk to all your IR council members, etc. But what I can probably share is my experience because I've been in the market for 3.5 decades, and that period saw a surge in publicly listed companies, a surge in CFO professionals and IR professionals coming up, and we've been very active in working with them. Kudos to some of the companies here that are represented. I mean, Jimmy, for instance, your board member. We've been doing these IR rounds way before IRs were born. So kudos to people like Ed who actually sit back and recognize the need for this to flourish and to give a voice to IR people. But at the very core, what could probably build a successful IR career is a mindset that you kind of have to think, not just with the support of the company, because a lot of, believe it or not, a lot of the investors want a very strong communication with the IR community, regardless of industry, regardless of company or market size. And at the very core, I think there are three, I kind of want to focus on the three qualities that IR people should have. And this is not, this is not a textbook definition, but I think from my years of experience, this will make you stand out. First is, I think you got to build trust and respect between the companies and the investors. It's a two-way street. You don't just deliver the message from the company to the investors, you do the same backwards. So to have an open mind from the companies, from management, from senior leaders, to listen to what the investors are saying is vital. That way, you kind of build the trust and respect. You can't do it overnight, right? And many times, I speak to IR and they'll tell me, I'm gonna field you the, a big investor in front of you, and they'll just say, but I'm just IR. That's the wrong attitude, right? You gotta say, I'm the IR. What I say is what the company tells me, and I command respect, right? So that's one. And second is, you gotta have interest in what you do. This is not a desk job. It's not a retirement job. It's not an easy job to do. So you gotta have interest in the markets, in the regulations and how they change, and in the industries that you operate in. Different IRs in different industries have different requirements and skill sets. So you gotta build that interest into what you do. And the third really is the passion, which Ed has kindly shared with you. You gotta wanna have that passion to say, there's something that needs to be told out to the investing public, and I'm the mouthpiece, so I gather the information I tell. So that passion is hard to define, but it really, at the end of the day, it differentiates what makes a good IR and not, and it also could possibly change how a stock price or a perception of a company change with investors. So I guess that's all I want to share, and I'm happy to take questions. Renz.
And as far as conversation goes, we want to be able to extract a little bit of their experience throughout the years. I know this is not going to be as comprehensive as a full hour talk, but at least we might get some gems of an experience or an anecdote. So that's the main purpose of why we're all here, why we're all gathered here. Let me begin by reiterating the title of today's Investor Relation in Focus, Leadership and Transparency. So we want to be able to touch at least some basic issues, like bridging the information gap between the company and the investment public, and relationship buildings, and at least what are the expectations and the guidance for IR. So I'm just going to ask a very simple question. I know the two of you have already sort of hit this question earlier in your speech, but I just want to get the ball rolling. So I'm going to ask this very simple question. What does a well-structured IR team look like? I'm talking about, sir, what does it mean when you're facing the investment public and how you want to communicate? And for Ms. Robbie, what does a well-structured IR team looks like when receiving this information, of getting this information, of extracting and questioning them about their long-term strategy at least? So I'm going to give the floor to you, sir, if you may.
Okay, a good IR, I would believe there are two most important skill set, no, or competence. First, of course, you need to have at least the financial know-how. Of course, you have to understand the business financials and also the basic operation of your business. Second is the stakeholder management, stakeholder relations. You have to be very good in that. So remember, IR is like a salesman, um, wherein your product you're selling is the company itself. So having someone who can represent the company by investing relationship with the investors and continues going out and then explain to talk to the investors, because selling a company or a product, it's not like selling a one apple in the market, right, within 1 hour. It takes years. So relationship building is really very important. So it's a long playing. So that's why meeting them, explaining them, it's important, because any investors, before they're gonna put their money, like we're talking about millions of dollars here, so they would want, the first is the trust. You cannot get the trust if you don't have the relationship. And with the, if you cannot show to the investors that you have the good team or good team, good organization that is able to execute what they're committing. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Madam?
I think there's also a need to not stay stagnant because it's a very dynamic role. The environment changes a lot. Investors change. So you gotta have, and of course, especially with today's technology, information is available everywhere. So the role of the IR has changed. So I think to put it like there's a structured IR team, etc., is fine, but you gotta have that mindset to change along with the times, because staying stagnant will make you, stale, and it will not give the investors. Your results season, for instance, everything is available. So it's the message that you want to focus on because the financials are available online. What you want to do is let's focus on the key messages every quarter. So that continuity needs to be there, but the mindset of wanting to be relevant and wanting to highlight what makes you a relevant company or the highlights of the company over that quarter is probably what's more important, rather than just going through the motion of, okay, we have our earnings call, so that just ticks the box, right? But to get and hook the interest of the investors is what is your message? So that you need to sit back and think.
So I want to zero in most on your answers, but let me start with Ms. Go. Okay, we've talked about the ideal IR team, but apparently we really can't, if we have to be honest, there's really a gap between theoretical and practical, at least in the practice of IR. Would you be aware, or are there any examples in your mind, top of your head, that are the information gaps, practical challenges that usually separates what we want from an IR ideally and what's happening on the ground?
Well, I think maybe let's focus on what not to do, right? Because I think most of the times IRs have a simple, a single message, or this is what we want to focus on. But the key, sometimes it comes out to be too defensive, first of all. So you tend to overhype maybe, or maybe underestimate what the investors are not prepared to. It's in a way, when you build up your relationship, as Ed pointed out, it's not okay, I talk to you here and then next one. But when you do that, there's got to be a build up. There are ways to go around it. Some of the IRs, I know, they do very structured note-taking, and they keep a record. When was the last time I met with this guy? What did we discuss? So those are fine. Those are just note-taking and just keeping track of the meetings. But I think what not to do is keep repeating the message and then being too defensive. So that comes across as, well, you're being stubborn. So you're not listening to what the investors are asking. So that's kind of maybe not the information gap, but maybe the pitfalls of what IRs shouldn't be doing is they keep repeating this until, the investors will say, well, I've heard it all before, right? So maybe that's just from what I've seen, we kind of want to, I don't know what Ed thinks about that.
Okay, I have my inputs now. I guess you have to like bucket your customer, no? Or who are your investors? Earlier I was mentioning about strategic investors, but if you look at the retail investors, the hedge funds, all of those, a different approach. So it's like selling any product, right? You need to know your customers, and then you need to be able to bucket them. And then when you bucket them, each one of them has a different approach in dealing, relationship building, because in retail investors, the approach will be different in the strategic investors, right? So, but as Robbie mentioned, first I mentioned about the relationship building skills. If you know how to understand your customer, the needs, you will find a way. So, if your customer demographics is young, you have to adapt, like what Robbie said. These young investors would like to see numbers and digital on the phone. They don't like too many engagement. But for older investors, it's different. Older prefer more engagement, physical. So these things, it's very crucial for an IR. You need to know, you need to assess any market. Even nowadays, if you sell condominium cars, young buyers now buy their condo they don't want to deal any salesman. They just buy online, even 2, 3, 4 million. But the older ones, especially the 40s, 50s, especially on the lower masses, they want someone that they can engage. So this is salesmanship. Part of that is a salesmanship. Ito yung relationship building, it's like a salesman. So if you understand your customer, your investors, from retail to strategic is different. You have to do ito na yung rifle approach. You have to go one-on-one and then try to understand what is their portfolio in terms of their fund, what is their mandate, their objective. Those things you need to know. So different type of investors will have different strategy. But in the end, you have to use your salesmanship skills.
Understood, sir. Can we go back there, sir? I know you've been talking about knowing your company and knowing your market and the way you should be able to sell them, depending on their need. I understand you've started this company, definitely from the ground up. You know every bit and nook and cranny of this business. But what's an effective way for you to be able to tell that to your IR? How do you train your IR in such a way that I also know this company backwards and forwards? I understand there's a lot of ways, and sometimes they're professionals, so they're not as invested as you have been in your company. So how do you bridge that gap in that sense?
It becomes like it's an HR, like an HR, developmental of one person, or just like any child, no? You have to be able to mentor. So when I say mentor, it's quite big, eh? So you need to be able to focus on two things. Yung kanina, sinabi ko, the salesmanship. Salesmanship itself is already big, eh? Like, make sure if the talent has a good skill set for that, then you're good. Then you focus on the others. So in the financials, each company has different strategy. You have companies who are more structured. They don't want to, they're not engaging. So you also have companies who are more engaging. So in our case, ako kasi because of my personality, so I prefer more casual, not too formal. it's not about right and wrong. It's just a preference of the management style or strategy. So then I try to explain to the IR that our strategy is we want to be accessible. All your website, you have all the informations for the young ones, and then from time to time, you need to engage, and then you should be approachable or reachable. And of course, the best way in bridging the gap or is to increase the competency of the person. Then that's in that way, if you just behave in accordance to yung target behavior mo, more, it's like strategy. If you have the right direction, you just walk. If you want to walk faster, then you reach your goal faster. But make sure your direction is correct, right? Because if you keep on doing the right thing, the only difference is the time. You reach tomorrow or you reach next year, right? So it's really like a mentoring, to bridge the gap.
So I'll add to that because different companies have different approaches, you said. Some are bigger companies, they're very structured in their organization. Some are very entrepreneur-like, right? But the bottom line is you gotta make the IR people aligned with the company. If they have the same mindset and thinking, of course, as an entrepreneur, if you're the president, the chairman, it's very different the kind of information you have. You cannot share everything with your IR, right? Some things you need to keep to yourself because you're gonna put your IR people at risk with information that they don't need to know. But having that aligned interests, which is to make sure that the public has access to management, has access to information, and access to what's going on that affects the financial statements, the performance, and potentially the share price. If they think like that, the share price performance is not an IR's job, nor is it the measure of an IR. To be honest, it's really a function of what goes on with markets. But if there is a gap between what the company knows and what the company wants their investors to know versus what the markets know, then that's an IR role. That is the role of a very effective IR, is you want the investing public to think exactly like Ed Saavedra, right? And different companies go through, different industries go through, cycles, etc. But you gotta be able to manage this when you navigate through, let's say, meron bang property dito? Robinsons yata is here. There's a property glut.
Philinvest.
Okay lang, be open.
Philinvest.
Philinvest, Robinsons
Sponsor
Plan.
natin, sorry.
Forum.
As a property glut, so how do you navigate your investment? Because in my years of experience in the market, I will tell you, what goes up will go down, and what goes down will go up. You just have to know how to navigate, right? Because when the glut is there and you didn't guide your investors, come on, that's sitting with the IR. Right? That's the job of an IR. You want to manage them through surprises, positive or negative. In the same way, you have gangbusters of a quarter in terms of same-store sales. How is it that nobody knows? And it's not a privileged information or not. It's just a trend that you're supposed to share with investors. So that gap can easily be filled.
Thank you. Can we play a little bit on that salesmanship and being able to guide the investors? This is partly me being curious. This is from Ms. Go, are there any frustrations if an extreme situation happens that the IR is a little bit more of a salesman? Or are you more frustrated with one that can really provide you the numbers, but at the same time, they really don't know how to sell their story, their equity story or value proposition?
There's always a good time to sell a story. I'm not telling IRs to be always positive, but I want them to be realistic. Because you want to be able to tell the real story rather than a good story, right? what makes a story good is the fact that you're quite realistic. So I honestly don't think there's any way around it but to be upfront. And you don't have to give information that's sensitive, but to guide towards it.
Yeah, okay, for me, I think those two competence is a must-have. You can't have pure salesmanship, but you don't understand the product. Diba? Like even car, diba? If you want to sell a car, you need to have a basic technical information. So the technical competence is the financial management. But in the end, the CEO plays a more important role kasi the IR can only do as much. But if the direction of the company is wrong, or if the market is soft, no matter what song and dance you're gonna make, if the market is soft, you can't expect too much, right? So, but the direction of the CEO will make bigger impact. So, as IR, you should be able to understand that if our CEO of the direction of the company will not make a good impact or effect on the market because of the market's conditions, you should know that don't waste too much time in doing the sales pitch, because no matter what you do, your effort will be useless. Yeah, so yung understanding the market kasi, for you to be able to understand the market, you have to know the financial situation, the macro basic economics, right? The geopolitics, that's macroeconomics, which is part of the financial skill set. But having a good relationship with the brokers, with the investment bankers, all of this group, no? So somehow will give you a more balanced information. Kasi sometimes we might have a belief, but after talking to all of these different industries and then the investors, then that represents the whole market. Then you process again and then you make your own assessment.
I think that's a good jumping point in, well, thank you for that answer. But I think that's a good jumping point into venturing more into the discussion of the relationship building. Like, for example, has there been any instance, both sides, that the other side has solicited a feedback and the company, or at least let's start with the company, that the investment public or the sell-side analyst has made a feedback and the company was able to effectively act on it? Do you remember any instances that such thing happened? And for Ms. Go, if you've made a feedback to any one company and you've experienced or witnessed them reacting to that feedback, is there a loop that exists like that?
Marami. Marami. In fact, ako kasi ang strategy ko is always, I want to hear the real feedback. But we know in Philippines, if you go to the investors or you go to the investors will not ask difficult questions, sensitive questions sa Philippines. Pero pag nasa inuman na, doon na, yung boss mo, IR, yung boss mo, ganito, bakit ginawa niya to? Dapat hindi niya ginawa yan. I don't agree, ganon.
Napalasing mo pala.
Diba? So now you will see all of these brokers, all of these investment bankers, kung ano, yung pala ayaw nila. Pero hindi naman sila nagsabi doon sa open forum. But that's very Filipino. How can you fight the whole 110 Filipino cultures? It will take you 1 century to change them, diba? So you have, my strategy is, if you have an IR who have a good relationship to those people, pwede niya tanong, ano tingin mo sa amin? And then those people who will, because you have a good relationship with them, they will be open to tell you. Yun. And we have many experience on that. Alam nila Rolly and Joe, even like, why did we sell the airport? Bakit yung advances namin ganito? Why is our liabilities like that? But hindi nag-match? But it matters Tama Diba? So, But where can you get those information if you don't have a good relationship with them? Knowing the Filipinos nga, hindi nagsasalita. Kasi if I go to abroad, if you talk to the foreign mga brokers, diretso sila, especially the Indians, they ask like talagang sensitive questions, direct to the point. And minsan ano pa, accusatory pa, accusing you. Hindi, mali yan. But it's good, tinanong nila. That means, di may mali silang akala. Diba? So, yun yung sa salesmanship, importante sa akin yun. An IR is very important and they will tell you, oh boss, ganito daw ganito. Is it true? Meron ba nangyari na ganitong transaction? Even chismis. Yun, lalo na sa retail, ganon yun. Boss, meron ba ganitong chismis? Ano yan? No, it's not true. So, may comms ka ulit. May strategy ka agad na comms. Hindi, ito yun, ganon.
Dahil dyan, sir, papapasukin na natin yung cases ng beer para gumanda ang usapan. I think may sponsor
alam
tayo.
Alam ni Rolly yan, si Rolly.
Pakilabas na yung alcohol. Madam?
I think kasi you have to understand also it's been a struggle. What IR used to be when the market was at its high is very, very different from today. Today, talagang iniipit, they look for the smallest details. And even for me, from where I sit, it's so hard to get a meeting kasi like I said, investors' appetites have changed. Ed's point was right. Today, retail market matters. We want to see the retail investors as engaged and as involved in the stock market as the foreign investor or institutional investors are. Institutional, it's very easy. You just pick up the phone, call them. But in retail, how do you get connected to the retail investor? This is one of the pain points that we've had with the stock exchange is they have to make sure there's a platform for these companies to keep the communication with retail. In many, many of the deals we've done, the most common question I get is, what is the retail market saying about this stock before they will even venture to do anything? It's very important to have a broad base of investors, institutional, foreign, local, retail, hedge funds, anything. Because to build a robust group of investors is actually the role of an IR. I think, is there something we can do? Yes, you can start, if there's some IRs who come to me, we don't have the resources to talk to retail. Ay, mali yan. Talagang sasabihan ko kasi this is something that you need to cultivate because we cannot. How can you have a market when just 10 people are changing hands, right? You need as many as you can. So that's something that we've started to talk to a lot of the IRs is go out and share the story with the retail people because a robust retail market is needed to get the foreigners in.
Sorry, follow up on that. Do you consider that as a sign of a lacking IR if they approach you to
No,
venture
not in
into
the
retail?
Philippine case. The Philippine investors, it's very clear. What they do, what they want, the retail, they want to make money. Right? The retail investors, if you look at the number of accounts of stock brokerage accounts, it pales in comparison to cryptocurrency accounts. Why? Because in crypto, you can make money easily. And that's something that you, as an IR community, can help change, get the retail investors in, because the institutional cannot be the ones to move this market. And that's not, I don't think that's a gap in itself. It's just the way the Philippine market is, structured. We're also very interest rate sensitive. So the past 2-3 years have been very difficult for retail investors because they just hide in fixed income. Yeah, but if rates are coming down the way that we're expecting it, you gotta get a lot more activity, and I think part of that should be on every IR's role is how do we get the retail investors more involved?
That's why it becomes a role also of the company or the CEO to change the strategy. Like, for example, if the macroeconomics, because of the geopolitical issues, Russian-Ukraine war, Trump, so interest is so high and prices, inflation's high, And then you have, of course, now the market reaction is normal. They will shift to fixed income base. That's a fixed yield income. That's normal. So you also have to understand the market. You adjust. So what is thriving now are those companies who are giving good yields. That's the only company that is thriving now. Those that are doing fixed yield income, whether you do a dividend play, but wala na yung parang dati where the market was so hot na you can
arbitrage,
2 or 3 times ganon higher your price. Wala na yon. But that's the market now because of the high interest rates, diba? So the behavior of the investor, especially the retail also, is changing, right? So then shifting to that strategy, it's not easy because not all companies are able to shift it that way because it depends on your financial status and then your standing and everything, and then you have to change some of your policy, your business model, everything. So, like in our case, we have like it's faster pa nga. You have one company, you'll create new one, and then you try to fix the existing one because if you wait for the existing one to be fixed, it will take you 3-4 years.
And the trend has already changed.
Exactly. That's why we have CREIT, who is like a yield base. So we created our product to also match the current market condition.
Let's try to.
It becomes a CEO's role more than an IR.
Thanks, sir. Let me just read a few questions from the audience. Can you share specific challenges in your business and how you overcame such challenges and how IR was able to help? I think that's more for you, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yun yung challenges ngayon na because market have shifted 180 degrees turn, diba? When the interest went up, inflation was high, so bagsak lahat. And then all the foreign investors left. So, kumbaga, yung customer demographics mo have totally changed eh. So, definitely because of that, and then gloomy yung market, gloomy yung geopolitical, ang gulo-gulo, daming away. So, if you look at the, kumbaga, kung sa harap ka, you have a very cloudy, thick clouds, you know that the storm is coming, and then basang-basa ka ngayon because the investors just left, interest is high. So, yun yung challenge that I mentioned. You need to understand the market and then ano yung trend ng tao. And then you have to shift your company to be able to attract those investors in the current situation. Yun yung I think is more, and then you have to be able to tell your IR, and IR also should be able to adapt because what you were doing, the song and dance that you were doing 2, 3, 4 years ago is not effective now. Hindi ka napapansinin eh. You need to have a different show. But you have to understand your market. Yun yung challenge.
So, unfortunately, that's most of the time we have. Maybe we could ask for siguro a final statement from both. Just a quick one, if you can.
Maybe can I just add, we are in the midst of a very important reform bill that has just been signed by President Marcos. This capital market reform bill, it did not happen overnight. Believe me, it happened over years of discussion. And we're right in the midst of it, so it's really a very important step, and we are doing our part to hype it up because I think what this is going to do is open up the market to a new set of investors who consider transaction costs in the Philippines high. But at the same time, it also opens up an opportunity for the local investors because you've taken away the minimum commission rate of 25 bips last year down to whatever the brokers are charging. You're removing 50 bips of transaction costs. In out one way, you can easily save 80 to 90 bips of transaction costs. So that's enough to entice local investors. So it's our job, and I repeat, our job as capital market stakeholders to go out and convince the investing public that this market is worth looking at. Why? Because there's a growth story in the Philippines. There are quality companies in the Philippines. Management like the man beside me, visionaries, seriously are top-notch. There is a very strong case for the Philippines to re-rate, and it is our job. So I'd like to put that out and challenge IR people not to just say, well, it's the market. It's not. It's in our hands to make a change and make sure that participation in the capital markets go high, not remain high, go higher.
Okay. Ako naman, no, I've mentioned naman earlier na on what the IR should do in their role, no. But I want to connect to what Robbie just said. There is still one thing that has a bigger impact: the government. This may sound, I don't know if this is sensitive or not, but I just speak out of my mind. As IR, everyone, it's not only IR, we have our own role in playing, especially you mentioned that we want to give something to the next generation, do something greater good than your company itself, no? You have to speak up, especially now, Sharefield, diba, si SEC. You have to be able to influence to the top level, meaning the government. Speak up, what policy change should we have? What incentive? Incentive is one form to attract, but it's not only incentive. There are policies, there are promotions that needs to be done. Remember, during the time of 10 years ago, when the peak of the capital market in Philippines, and then our rating, we went high. It was not about the incentive. It was the promotion of the government. So, I will not mention what department in the government, but it will not only help, it will make big change. Kasi if the head of the government, or meaning if the government itself has a good program, good promotion, telling the whole world, like you have to engage them and tell them, guarantee, assure them, come here, then it's like marketing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you're dealing with humans. You know, humans, it's all about marketing and sales. And then, of course, you have to back it with yung execution also, numbers, everything. But that one promotion should start. If you don't promote, no matter how good your product is, no one will know. First is you have to have a good product. But Robbie, and we all know that in Philippines we have good products, right? The companies. But the problem is, why are investors not coming here? Promotion, I think, is really important. So as IR again, or as individual, try to come up, and then maybe let's work together and try to talk to the government, to whatever agencies, and then pull them together, and then we can do something. Diba? And then we promote as Philippines. Kasi yun eh. No matter what you do, song and dance, if they look at Philippines as a country risk mataas, wala yan, hindi pupunta dito yan. And then kasi the rest, the retail kasi, investors will just follow. Yun lang.
Thank you. Nicely put. In behalf of Share Philippines, Shareholders Philippine Association of the Philippines, and the Investor Relations Circle, we cannot thank you enough for being here and being able to share your insights and your experience. Please remain seated. We will be providing tokens of appreciation for you to be led by our Vice Chair, Mr. Ed Francisco. Can we please give our panelists a very big round of applause for the very insightful answers in today's panel. Today, we are privileged to formally induct new additions to our organization, who will be accordingly presented by the Sharefield trustee, Mr. Jimmy Ismael.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining this first IR event for the year. On behalf of Sharefield, the Board of Trustees of Sharefield, and the Membership Committee, I would like to welcome all of our new members today and formally induct them to be members of Sharefield. So if I may call on each one of them, and please come up on stage so that we can induct you. As institutional members, the following will be inducted: Beatriz Naomi Bea Bathan, Investments in Investor Relations Officer of Alternergy Holdings Corporation. Mr. Pierre Ignatius Co, Investor Relations and Financial Planning Director, Finance and Corporate Affairs of Concrete Holdings Philippines Incorporated. Here. Brian T. Lim, Vice President, Treasurer, and Chief Finance Officer of Concrete Holdings Philippines. Bureau Guard Grant Cheng, CFO, Cebu Landmasters. Is Grant here? Yeah, there it is. Grant. Emerito J.R. Purisima Jr., Assistant Vice President, Investor Relations of Cebu Landmasters. Please come forward. And the last of institutional members today, Maria Virginia Marvi Tolentino Uy, Senior Assistant Vice President, Head of Compliance and Governance, Risk and Compliance, SM Investments. And as regular members, may I call on the following to also go up on stage. Ms. Michelle Ann Chan, Country Manager, Advanced AI and Advanced CBP. Michelle. Janet Makasheb, owner of Casa Ibarra. Thank you. Victoria Vicky Martinez Esquivias, Director, Eastern Group. Is she here? There it is. Okay. And last but not the least, Brillo or Brill Reynes, Managing Trustee, Deep Scholars Association Incorporated. Thank you. Okay, so to lend solemnity to the event, may I call on everyone to please stand up while we administer the oath of membership. And if I may ask all of our inductees today to raise their right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Having been accepted as member of Shareholders Association of the Philippines. Do solemnly swear to abide by and uphold its articles of incorporation and bylaws, to commit and to put into practice its core values and noble tenets of fairness, accountability, independence, transparency, and honor. I pledge to help promote awareness of shareholders' rights through responsible advocacy and shareholder education, and in so doing, contribute to the building of investors' confidence and contribute to the development of the capital markets. This I pledge without mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me God. Congratulations and welcome to Sharefield. Thank you very much. Thank you. Maybe we can ask the members of the board to also join us here for a group photo. Maybe medyo masikip lang, but we can fit in. Yes.
Good afternoon, everyone. We close this afternoon event with a truly insightful Sharefield Investor Relations Forum. It is my privilege on behalf of Sharefield to offer our sincere thanks to everyone who made today a resounding success. To all the IR professionals in the audience, thank you for your interest, active participation, and thoughtful questions. Your dedication to fostering transparent and trust-based relationships with the investment community is vital. And the discussions we've had today, centered on leadership, transparency, and market confidence, have provided insights into the foundational elements of a robust capital market. I'd also like to extend our deepest appreciation to our panelists, Mr. Edgar Saavedra and his team, and Ms. Robbie Go, for sharing candid insights into how strong leadership, transparent communication, and market vigilance can reinforce confidence even in challenging market conditions. The lessons learned today reinforce that building and maintaining investor confidence is a continuous process that requires unwavering commitment to strong leadership and transparent communication. Let us carry the momentum and knowledge gained from this forum into our respective organizations, continuing to champion these vital principles in the Philippine market. Thank you once again for your presence and contribution. We look forward to seeing you in the next Sharefield event. Thank you.